Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Talk Soccer to Me, an American soccer fan's perspective on everything that's happening in European and international soccer in the format of a podcast. The show is hosted by yours truly, Jack Alt. Before we get into the show, make sure to follow Talk Soccer to Me on all social medias and streaming services. It's at Talk Soccer to Me on Twitter and TikTok. It's the at Talk Soccer to Me podcast on Instagram. To listen again, Talk Soccer to Me is listed on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Follows, positive ratings, comments, likes, shares, reposts, retweets, everything goes a really long way. So for all those who follow or decide to follow, they're greatly appreciated. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the second leg of the Champions League. There were 4 games. We're going to get into the Europa League. There was some drama at Old Trafford. We're going to touch on the Conference League a little bit. There was one Premier League game during the midweek schedule, and then we're going to get into what was a pretty standard weekend, games in England, Spain, Italy, Germany, and France as those title races, Champions League races, and relegation races come to a head. But we're gonna get started with the Champions League. So I didn't really go into the first ties because it was pointless. By the time the episode had come out, the second legs of the tie would have been playing. And so we started on Tuesday with Aston Villa hosting PSG. PSG came into this tie with a 3-1 lead on aggregate, so it was going to be a lot for Aston Villa to turn this around at home, and they nearly did. They came really so close. Oh, so close. Spoiler, PSG did pull it out, but we're going to go over this game, and it was so painfully close for Aston Villa. But we need to recap this game. First 10 minutes or so, Villa started really well, but they were attacking hard, and that left them open to the counter. PSG's about one of the best teams in the world when it comes to countering. Bradley Barcola ended up getting behind Matty Cash on a counter, just kind of ran that ball down the left side, sent a cross in. Emiliano Martinez was able to push the cross out, but if you're a goalkeeper and you're really going to lean out like that and stick your neck out, you have to get a hold of the ball. He wasn't able to do that. Hakimi, who was previously pushed forward, was right there. He's a world-class player. And just like that, it was 4-1 on the tie. PSG opened the scoring 11 minutes in, and unfortunately, we saw a repeat of that happen. Villa, they didn't stop attacking after, but it resulted in the same thing as the first goal. They got caught on the counter. This time it goes up the right side. The other fullback, Nuno Mendes, was able to get on this finish. Really tidy finish. I mean, put it right off the post. Emiliano Martinez had that post covered well, but it wasn't enough. When he's about 12 yards out, was able to get some power under it. And just like that, 27 minutes in, it was 5-1 on aggregate. So you knew it would take a miracle and a half for Aston Villa to catch up. But they kept fighting, though. And it was really kind of, I don't want to say the word honorable, but honorable. I mean, they did not give up. PSG, they lost possession 34 minutes in, middle of the field. Villa won the ball back. Some tidy touches between the likes of Yuri Tielemans and Marcus Rashford. And Tielemans has a shot in the box. It was deflected heavily off of the center back for PSG, Willian Pacho. And I thought it was going to be an own goal, but I guess since the ball was headed towards the box, it was not ruled as that. So Tielemans gets a goal. It's 2-1 on the night, 5-2 on aggregate. The rest of the first half was surprisingly open. Proper knockout tie. Isn't neutral is exactly what you want to see. But Villa was still down 3 goals, and they knew they had a lot. They had an uphill battle. And something must have been said by Unai Emery at the halftime break, because they kept firing again. And the man responsible for that firing in the 50th minute, for the most part, was Marcus Rashford. He had a decent shout in the 51st minute. Dembele he had a decent shout in the 51st minute, saved by Donnarumma. A couple minutes later, Dembele on a through ball was miles off sides, but still showed off a wonderful finish, a chip over Emiliano Martinez, but it didn't count. So it's still 5-2 on aggregate, 2-1 on the night. And then in the 54th minute, right after Dembele's offsides, John McGinn runs half the length of the field with the ball. No one stepped to him. I mean, he was, I don't want to say the word untouched, some American football lexicon, but no one touched him. I mean, he was wide open up the field, and PSG were dropping back, but you got to step to the man. He put a shot, got a little bit of a deflection, but it had enough loop on it to get past the ever present Gianluigi Donnarumma. It was 5-3 on aggregate, and all the momentum in those 50-ish minutes was with Aston Villa. Marcus Rashford was absolutely on fire. A couple minutes later, he hit a shot, and it was curling in. Donnarumma took everything he had to get a fingertip on it and save it. And then right after, on the corner, Marcus Rashford takes it short. He does, gets past the guy, does some wonderful dribbling in the box, sets up Ezri Konsa with a shot 10 yards from the goal. Now it's 5-4, and Villa were pushing. Villa were pushing hard. And it felt like, oh my God, PSG are in trouble, but it wasn't meant to be. The miracle did not happen. They fought and they clawed, and they had attempts to come oh so nearly close to scoring. But PSG held strong. Gianluigi Donnarumma made some saves. There was, I think, Pacho made a really good save off of a Maatsen shot. I think he was standing on the line. There was maybe one or two other goal line clearances. I think like a Tielemans header was really close to scoring. But PSG held strong. They lost 3-2 on the night. But on aggregate, over the two legs, PSG 5, Aston Villa 4, PSG were on to the semifinals. Sometimes when talking soccer, I think we as a soccer watching society put everything in sort of this like binary lens. Win or loss, good or bad, trophy or no trophy, world class or not world class, a Ballon d'Or or no Ballon d'Or. And if you look from the outside, yes, Aston Villa lost this tie 5-4. But what it means to the fans, and this club is more than just something you can measure with wins or losses. Because there's probably two generations of Aston Villa fans that weren't around in the 80s, and a third that was very young when they did win a European Cup. And they haven't been a team that's been regularly in Europe. So for them, this night, defeating PSG 3-2 on aggregate, getting those goals in the second half, John McGinn's finish, Marcus Rashford really just lighting it up. This is going to be a memory of a lifetime for them, and I think they can be very proud of their team and the way they played. They fought hard from the first minute. Yes, it left them exposed to the counter after the 3-1 loss in Paris, but who cares? It was awesome. It was awesome for Villa fans. You defeated a European giant at home in the champion. Now, over the course of the tie, it didn't work out that way. But it was a wonderful night. It was a magical night, and it was nearly one of the greatest European comebacks we've ever seen. Sometimes those stories aren't meant to be, and your team can't always win. I hope Marcus Rashford can play somewhere that isn't the chronic cesspool that is Manchester United. God, I think they really drag down players. I was talking to someone recently who believed that Marcus Rashford doesn't have anything left in the tank, that he's just played too many games from a young age. And I get that argument. We are putting a lot on players in this modern era. But man, I mean, just the life. I think he's got like this light and life to his game that has just been severely lacking at what the theater of nightmares that is Old Trafford. And he has this spark on him. He looks so wonderful. I get they had to pull him out of the game. And, Ollie Watkins is a great player and, someone you can justify substituting in a Champions League quarterfinal. But for Marcus Rashford's sake, I hope he goes somewhere else next year other than Manchester United. I'd love for Villa to sign him. I mean, I think that's a match made in heaven. He looks really good in Unai Emery's system. So, yeah, something about Manchester United and these players just not gelling, not really working out. I'm not going to come down too hard on PSG, though. I think the motto survive and advance really fits them right now. Yes, you probably shouldn't have let Villa come back into this tie the way that they did, but that doesn't matter. Put it in the past. You've won the league. You can rest players. Focus on your Champions League semifinal matchup and keep going from there. I mean, that's all you really can. Just be glad you got out of that one. Give Donnarumma the praise that he deserves. And yeah, the rest of you guys, and they have a fantastic opportunity. And I don't want to be that guy that's like, if they've got to play Barcelona or Arsenal or Inter Milan, they need to do better. No. It's at this tie, with the way Villa were playing and the momentum and just, Villa Park really kind of was a fortress in Europe this year. I mean, they beat Bayern there pretty well. I think they beat or drew Juventus. They had some good results at Villa Park. It's just take it. Just take the money and run. Survive in advance. I'm not going to be up on PSG. I think PSG are still in a fantastic opportunity. I think PSG are still a great shout to win the competition going into the semifinals. And I'll get more into who they're playing in that tie specifically later. But I'm not beating up on PSG. It's hard to win away in a European quarterfinal, and you got the win. Take it, run. They made it close. Whatever. You're advanced. Let's move on. The PSG probably doesn't even want me talking about it anymore. They're just looking towards the future. And that's all they can do. So let's get into the second game on that Tuesday slate, and this was Barcelona versus Dortmund. Barcelona did have the fortune of coming into this game with a 4-0 lead over Borussia Dortmund the prior week in Barcelona. They just resoundingly defeated them. So, I mean, I don't think anyone's ever come back from 4-0. No, now I'm thinking about it. No one has come back from 4-0 in a modern Champions League tie. So, they did have some breathing room coming into this game, but they didn't play well. Barcelona did not play well, and we're gonna get into the recap of why that is. I mean, it was kind of just similar to the last tie. It was one team who had a comfortable lead, and then one team who came out fighting. And Dortmund came out fighting. They didn't balk at the 4-0 deficit. They were in front of their home fans at the Westfalenstadion, and they were firing away. I mean, it was the vibe of both of the home teams on the Tuesday, and their firing paid off early. Pascal Gross was tripped in the box by the Barcelona goalkeeper Szczesny, and Serhal Guirassy converted the penalty with an audacious penalty, which is a chip, for those who don't know, but most of you probably do, that nearly hit the top post. I mean, it was 4-1 on aggregate, but it was in the 11th minute, and it was early enough. It was early enough for a comeback, and the rest of the first half was all Dortmund. I mean, Dortmund. Adeyemi was playing out of his mind. It was completely one-sided, but it just wasn't enough. We went into halftime, still 4-1 on aggregate, and right out of the start of the second half, the chances kept coming for Dortmund. Adeyemi was just on fire again. 49th minute, Ben Sabine finds a corner at the far post for Dortmund, sends it right back across the goal for it to reach the head of Guirassy. He gets his second of the night. It's now 4-2 on aggregate with 40 minutes and some injury time to be played in the second half. It looked like we could really have something interesting on our hands, but just like that, things got a little tough for Dortmund. Kind of a defensive splitting pass finds Fermin Lopez on a half space in between the center back and the left back, and his cross is unfortunately put in by Ben Sabine for Dortmund. Barcelona get their goal, and in the 54th minute make it a 3-goal tie again. And I mean, that one definitely kind of sucked the air out of the stadium, slowed the game down, killed Dortmund's momentum. Kind of surprisingly, they did get another one in the 76th minute. Ball goes in, and Araujo clearance for Barcelona didn't really go far, kind of miskicks it, and then right at the 6-yard box, it lands at Guirassy's feet, and most strikers at the professional level will be putting that away, and he gets his hat trick. So it was back to a 2-leg tie. I mean, it was 5-3 on aggregate, but it was too little too late. Julian Brandt came in. He had a goal called back. He was well off sides, and Dortmund really weren't able to put up another significant attack after that. Barcelona, of course, are such a team that are just so dangerous on the counters to where you can't really give them that space, and it was over. Barcelona lost 3-1 on the night to Dortmund, but they won the quarterfinal tie 5-3 on aggregate. So let's talk about this game now. Now it's time for my opinions. That's how we do it around here. I gave you the recap, and now I'm going to give you the opinions. And my opinion is that Dortmund can keep their heads held high, and their fans should be proud of them. Only one time in Champions League history has a 4-0 deficit been overturned, and that's the world-famous La Remontada between Barcelona and PSG. So you came into this game knowing you're most likely not going to win. It would need a miracle that would be talked about for the rest of time. And despite that, despite every metric telling them they weren't going to win, they fought hard. Adeyemi was a man on fire with his dribbling, and Guirassy had a center forwards game. A header, getting a ball on the 6-yard box, and a penalty. You know, Dortmund's league form this year has struggled at times. They're currently sitting 7th. They're 4 points behind a Champions League spot. But the one thing I think they can, be proud of is the way they've entertained their fans in the last 2 years in the Champions League. I mean, they made it to the final last year, respectable quarterfinal tie, and you just wonder if they'd made it a little bit closer, played a little bit better defense in Barcelona, could they have pulled it off tonight? But that's a hypothetical, and that's not what I'm really concerned about. And it was unfortunate. There was too little too late. That own goal really sucked the life out of the building. And it was a tough result for Borussia Dortmund. But they should be proud of themselves. They fought hard. They were definitely a deserving team. I think their fans are going to be proud of them. Again, it was a 4-goal lead. They could have, just taken the defeat and made sure it didn't get worse. But they didn't do that. They took the risk. They made themselves vulnerable to the counter. And Barcelona is probably the best attacking team in the world. They should be proud of themselves. Their fans should be proud of themselves. And it wasn't meant to be for Dortmund. I never thought they were going to win that competition. I didn't think they were going to win this tie, but they fought hard. I mean, yeah, what a performance by Guirassy and Adeyemi. There really is some talent in this Dortmund team. So you got to wonder why they're not doing better. I mean, Julian Brandt, Giovanni Reyna. These are good guys. They're coming off the bench. You know, Pascal Gross, Nicolas Sula in defense. Gregor Kobel is a wonderful goalkeeper. I don't know. Dortmund's stuck in that purgatory of they'll always be really good, but like never great. And I mean, it's been 12, 13 years since they've had a great team. They've had to sell their. I mean, they look at some of the talent: Sancho, Bellingham, Holland. That goes through that. I mean, I'm not saying anything no one already knows, but it's just unfortunate. And then we're going to get to Barcelona. And I don't really, it's kind of like PSG. It's kind of like when I was just talking about PSG. You never really know what to make of these performances because it's like survive and advance. And Barcelona have been good enough in their, I know Barcelona are good enough to where, I'm not going to trip over a 3-1 loss at Borussia Dortmund because you were up 4 goals in the tie. Lewandowski wasn't playing. You're hoping to get him back later in the season from whatever injury he's dealing with. And, you had an off night. You gave up 18 shots. 12 of them were on target. But again, if I'm a Barcelona fan, I'm not worried. It was their first game in 2025 they lost. This team's good. This team's fine. They'll be fine in the semifinals. Just maybe, a little more defensive security. That probably is my one worry. I guess if you did have to ask me what about Barcelona worries me, I'd probably say their defense. It's one of the best attacks we've ever seen, just purely from goal scoring output. But I mean, Kubasi, Araujo, Martin, Koundé. I mean, they're not bad. They're not bad. Szczesny as a goalkeeper, I don't know if he's a Champions League quality winning goalkeeper. I feel like he's made some mistakes. He's definitely made some mistakes in these ties. I mean, was it the Benfica game, the Benfica tie? He was making mistakes. I mean, the Benfica game, that was in the league phase, and then the Benfica tie in last round, and then just giving up that penalty today was pretty stupid. I mean, nothing he could really do about the other goals. But yeah, that penalty was pretty stupid that he gave up. So, I don't know. It's going to be tough. Because Barcelona, they have to play the Spanish Cup final right before the semifinal tie. That's crazy. What poor planning by the Spanish Federation were they thinking? I mean, what are you going to do? Where are you going to, what are you going to, that's 2 huge matches back to back for their starters. I don't know why more people aren't talking about that. That's terrible. Yeah, no, I mean, that's Barcelona in their schedule have to play Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey and then turn around 4 days later and host the first leg of a Champions League tie. What stupid, why is it then? Why is it, they should have been this, I don't know, that's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It kind of blows my mind. I'm really, really, really stupid thing, but what are you going to do? These federations, players are indisposable, right? Am I right? No, they never get hurt. Never. So now we're going to chat about the Wednesday Champions League games. Arsenal versus Real Madrid. Arsenal coming into this game off of their fantastic 3-0 victory at home. Declan Rice's 2 free kicks were probably watched on Twitter so many times, including by myself. That second free kick's one of the best, if not the best I've ever seen. I mean, it's getting comparisons with some of Messi's best, like his against USA or the Barcelona one against Liverpool. And I mean, this was the first leg that Arsenal just absolutely dominated. So it was interesting coming into this to see how it will go. And it was all Arsenal. I mean, there was in the first couple minutes, Mbappe did put the ball in the back of the net, but he was clear as day offsides, never really going to be a threat. And then in the 10th, 11th minute, Mikel Merino was tackled. I think that was by Asensio or Lucas Vasquez during a corner. And I don't know, I was a little conflicted about this penalty because it's one of those ones where it's okay, textbook definition, it was definitely a penalty. He tackled him, straight up tackled. I mean, I'm not talking like a soccer tackle. I'm talking like a rugby American football style tackle. But it wasn't near where the ball was going. And I feel like you see that a lot, and it's very rarely called. So to be called in a tie like this, quarterfinals of the Champions League, it was like, ooh, referee, what are we doing? Is this the right move? But it didn't matter. It didn't really have any effect on the game, because Bukayo Saka's penalty in the 13th minute was kind of poorly chipped. A little bit of a panica, just a little soft chip. And when you're going up against Thibaut Courtois, who's probably the best goalie in the world, probably the best goalie of his generation, multi Champions League winning, Premier League winning, La Liga winning goalkeeper, he's won just about everything outside of international trophies. He's going to save that all day, especially he got the right side. And then actually a couple minutes later, there was a penalty shout on the other side. Declan Rice was impeding Kylian Mbappe on a cross in the box. It was originally called a penalty. Rice was given a yellow card, which meant Rice would have been out for the second semifinal leg against PSG. But then it went to VAR, and it went to VAR for like 10 minutes. I swear to God, that was the longest VAR check I've ever seen in my life. Which, I mean, why does it take? I don't know. I didn't feel like it would take that long. It was called back. I think that was the correct call as well. But I mean, so I'm in the camp of I don't think either penalty should have happened. But basically, Declan Rice was impeding on Mbappe, but it was nowhere close to the ball. And honestly, it wasn't as strong as a tackle that we saw in a couple minutes before in the box on Mikel Merino. Mbappe was very much like holding on to it. And then, the rest of the first half, I mean, it didn't really feel like there was too much momentum with Real Madrid. They didn't get anything too serious happening. Come out at halftime. Madrid makes a sub, or they made a couple subs early. They brought on Endrick, Fran Garcia, Danny Ceballos. I mean, they really changed it up. But Arsenal struck first. Decent play, some passing in or up around like the top of the box. Mikel Merino, just a little fine pass to Bukayo Saka, who puts it right past Thibaut Courtois to make it 4-0 on aggregate. But then not even before, I think many Arsenal fans had calmed down. William Saliba, uncharacteristically, gives the ball away. He receives a pass from David Raya, which maybe I don't think David Raya probably should have passed it to him, knowing there were two defenders pretty close. He sees Mbappe's right there. He doesn't see that Vinicius is right there. Gets disposed right in front of Arsenal's box. Vinicius puts it in the back of the net. And just like that, it's 1-1 on aggregate. But still a three-goal gap. And really, from that point on, it didn't really, it didn't feel like Real Madrid were going to threaten, and they didn't. Actually, the final goal was Gabriel Martinelli. After running, sprinting the entire game, he gets behind the Real Madrid defense. Nice through ball from Merino, puts it away. Final score: Arsenal 2, Real Madrid 1. Arsenal won on the night, and they won on the aggregate tie, 5-1. I did not see this coming. I don't think anyone saw this coming. And I don't think anyone, obviously, besides people who are just blinded by hate for Arsenal, I don't think anyone has doubts that Arsenal are a good soccer team. But to systematically destroy Real Madrid in the way that they did over the course of 180 plus minutes, I did not see this coming whatsoever. I mean, it was. I think this was even more brutal than the first, because Real Madrid didn't really earn their goal. It was more of an Arsenal mistake, and to do it in their house where they didn't even give up a goal. Yeah, they really didn't give up a goal. I mean, they only gave up 3 shots on target. I mean, when have we ever seen Real Madrid this thoroughly defeated this early in the competition? Like, yeah, they've been on the receiving end of some decent semifinal losses over the years. I look back to that 4-0 loss against Manchester City, and if I go back even further in the vault, they lost to Dortmund 3-0 a time or two, and Barcelona got the best of them over the years. But a systematic destruction of Real Madrid at this stage in the competition is almost unheard of. I think this is their first quarterfinal loss in like 15, 16, 20 years, something like that. I mean, really just what a display by Arsenal. And I think the difference in the tie were the wingers, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. And I'm not going to look at you and be like, or not even just the wingers, the attackers. Martinelli, Saka, and Marino versus Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius Jr. Because the one thing that the Arsenal attackers did, the Real Madrid attackers didn't, is they got back on defense. And I truly think at the end of the day, that was the difference of this tie. Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli were giving everything to give support to their fullbacks, and that wasn't the same. I can't think of once a Real Madrid winger coming back to help with a one-on-one against Gabriel Martinelli or Saka. And I think ultimately that's what cost them. It was a team game by Arsenal versus an individual game by Real Madrid. Real Madrid didn't look like a team, and they've got some serious issues to sort out. I think the biggest change that Real Madrid needs to make going forward this summer is they have to get rid of an attacker. And Rodrigo is a bit of a company man. He will put the team before himself in ways that guys like Benzema or Bobby Firmino did at Liverpool. You keep a guy like that. You keep Mbappe because Mbappe is the best player in the world. But you got to sell Vinicius, and you got to put Mbappe back on the left wing. And I know it sounds crazy whenever you say sell a player as good as Vinicius, but Mbappe's not a striker. And him up front leading the line like that's not working. Yes, you can be the best player in the world, but it's not working. Even if he falls back into like a false nine type situation like he did with Arsenal trying to get the ball out of the midfield, he really wasn't able to create a lot. I mean, yes, there was the ever-present threat of a long shot, but that was it. And at times when he did try to advance the ball from the midfield to the attack, he would make it look crowded. He would either kind of bunch up with Vinicius on the left, and it didn't work because they don't play well together, or it looked crowded with him and Bellingham in kind of that attacking midfielder space. You got to put Mbappe on the wing. You can't have Kylian Mbappe in this team and not put him on the left wing. I think that's absolutely insane. You're not. You got the best player in the world out of position. It's crazy. And I think Vinicius is great. I think he's a great player. I don't know where he would go. I know Saudi Arabia is drooling, and they'll give him more money than someone like me would ever see. But it's not working. This is not working for Real Madrid. They're not going to win the league. They're not going to win the Champions League. I think the only shot they have at the Copa del Rey is the fact that Barcelona have to turn around and play another Champions League game 4 days later. And for a club of this stature, that's not good enough. And this Vinicius on the left, Mbappe in the center is not good enough. I know they've had a bit of an injury bug like everyone does. And maybe I'd like to see maybe another midfielder signed, maybe another defender. I'd probably say another center back for Real Madrid. Trent's coming in. Don't know if that's going to work. I don't see that working at all. I don't think Trent Alexander-Arnold is a player built for Real Madrid's system. But yeah, something's got to change at Real Madrid, and I think it starts with the forwards. That's crazy. I mean, that's just like I think back to myself of what I just said. Like selling a player the quality of Vinicius is just crazy, but it's not working. And I mean that's all it was. It was team soccer versus individualistic soccer. I mean, you watched Marino press, you watch Soccer press, you watch Martinelli press, you watch Odegaard press. Odegaard's so good at pressing. He hasn't been the same since his ankle. Arsenal do have to worry though. Thomas Partey pretty stupidly got a yellow card at the end of that, so he's got now a second yellow card, so he is not going to be able to play in the first leg against PSG. I do think that benefits Arsenal that they're at home. You know, I guess if you had a player like Partey who's been playing great in the Champions League out, you'd rather him be out for the home tie. I really don't know what to do. Maybe bring Marino back into the midfield. Put your start up there, Onieri, something. Do something different. Maybe a 4-4-2. I don't know. 4-4-2 doesn't make sense for a team that doesn't really have strikers. But, Arsenal are going to have a little bit of a dilemma. But they got a nice break. I think the thing that benefits Arsenal is kind of the same thing that I was talking about PSG earlier, is Arsenal aren't going to win the Premier League. They know that. Everyone knows that. They're not in the FA Cup. They're not in the cup competition. They, for the most part, have Champions League soccer secured. It would take kind of a miracle of the 4 teams behind them to all go perfect, because I think they've got like 11 points. You know, no spoilers for the weekend games they'll be talking about later, but I believe they've got like 11 points ahead of whoever's in 6th place. So yeah, if I'm Arsenal, I'm starting B teams, mix of A and B teams. I know they've got a league game on the weekend, a league game on Wednesday, but then they've got 6 days off before PSG. And if Liverpool win the league, and Champions League qualification is pretty much secure. I am resting the hell out of my guys until we have to play PSG. So that's gonna be an exciting tie. Mendes versus Saka, different battles in the midfield. Arsenal's left back and right back, who I think would take on PSG's wingers. Kvaratskhelia, Kvaratskhelia, it's just fantastic. Doué, fantastic. Barcola, fantastic. Gianluigi Donnarumma, fantastic. I mean, I think it's gonna be a very exciting time. I'm very excited. I do remember the league phase tie where Arsenal got the best of PSG 2-0. I think both these teams have changed a lot. PSG just looks significantly better than they did at the time of that tie. Arsenal better, but also lacking less options. They just don't have Kai Havertz, and they don't have Gabriel Magalhaes. So, yeah, no, I mean, I'm very excited for that tie. I think it's gonna be a really good one. I had a couple friends who were excited this week for the games just to realize that there was a 1 week break between the semifinal matchups and the quarterfinal matchups. So we're gonna get rid of these Champions League games to talk about. We got one more. Inter Milan versus Bayern Munich. The winner of this game was going to play the winner of Dortmund Barcelona, which we know to be now as Barcelona. So let's get into it. Inter Milan hosting Bayern Munich. Inter held the lead coming into the tie after their 2-1 victory at the Allianz Arena in Munich the week prior. Slight chances for both teams early on. Marcus Thuram had the best shot on a free kick in the 30th minute, but his extended leg couldn't get the foot on it, and it wasn't able to put it in the back of the net. Bayern then really started to attack after that, around like in 33rd, 35th minute. Leroy Sané had a few chances at the back post on the left wing. He really wasn't able to do too much. And that first half was a little cagey. Wasn't too exciting. Neither team had any considerable chances. The second half, though, was the exact opposite. The great Harry Kane, the wonderful English striker, opened up the second half, though. He opened up the scoring. He was able to put a shot through the legs of Federico Di Marco, the goalkeeper, Sommer, for Inter Milan. Really couldn't do anything about it, and he got Bayern Munich up 1-0 on the night. We were all square in the tie. And then Inter nearly responded right away. Marcus Thuram, I mean, off like the opening kick after the goal. And I mean, he was strong up front all game. I mean, every ball that was sent up to him, he was just overpowering the Bayern Munich defenders left and right. The center backs couldn't keep up with his strength. That's definitely going to be a threat as Inter advance in this competition. Oops, spoilers. 58th minute, Federico Di Marco, the one I was just talking about, he sent an outswinging cross for Inter Milan that fortunately landed at the feet of Lautaro Martinez after he misses it really with his head. He puts it away just like that. Inter are up again on the tie. Joshua Kimmich for Bayern Munich could have defended better. Eric Bader then stopped it from getting worse for Bayern 2 minutes later as he saved Darmian's shot off the line as it get past the Bayern goalkeeper. But it was going to get worse because the corner it created was scored. Benjamin Pavard against his former team, just a clinical corner header. Center of the box, strong, beats out his defender, puts it past the goalkeeper, and Inter in the span of 3 minutes go up 4-2 on aggregate. They're up 2-1 on the night, same score as the first tie, and Inter kept pushing. They didn't let Bayern breathe in the couple minutes after that. But, I mean, with the team, it's just as much quality as Bayern Munich. You know, you weren't going to keep them held back forever. It was kind of like a short corner sent to Serge Gnabry for Bayern. He gets a pass off the corner from the top corner of the box. It gets to Eric Dyer at the back post, and he puts it in the back of the net. He looped it into the far corner somehow. Really reminiscent of, I think it was like Vertonghen's goal for Belgium against Japan in the World Cup. I want to say it was like 2018. It's just one of the ones, you're trying to put it in the back corner or back post. You put it in the goal, you'll take it. And Bayern now only needed one goal to tie it up, but Inter Milan's defense, what they're known for, was suffocating, where they can just drop back and have 5 guys on defense. That low and mid block they do so well, and Bayern just couldn't get that chance. Thomas Mueller, in what will probably be his final it's going to be his final Champions League game for Bayern Munich. He had a fadeaway header at the chance at the end. A chance at the end, fade away, header chance at the end. Good Lord. But it wasn't enough, and Jan Sommer saved it. 2-2 on the night, a tie on the night, but Inter Milan go through 4-3 on aggregate. Let's talk about it. And this is what I want to talk about. This 1 point right here. Put some respect on Inter Milan's name. I've been saying this for weeks. This is a good team. This is a team capable of winning anything. They won Serie A last year dominantly. They're probably going to win it again this year. They should have won the Champions League 2 years ago. They were better than Manchester City in that tie or in that final. I don't care. I know Man City won, but Inter lost that game. They had plenty of opportunities to score. This team is good. Bastoni's one of the best center backs in the world, if not the best. Really good shout. Lautaro Martinez there's a serious argument that he is a top 5 player in the world. Marcus Thuram absolutely bullied the Bayern center backs. And you even look at like older guys like Mkhitaryan and Darmian, I don't care if they're older and maybe couldn't cut it in the Premier League. They play well within this system. This team is well coached. This team is phenomenal. They deserve to defeat Bayern Munich. I truly believe they could beat Barcelona. Now, it's going to be a tough tie. It's a team that's probably better at defending than anyone else in the world versus a team that's better at attacking than anyone else in the world. But do not count Inter Milan out. This team is good. They've got good players on the bench. They got guys like Steven De Vrij, Marko Arnautovic, Mehdi Taremi, who came off the bench. They rotate well. They're really smart about that. Barella in the midfield is just absolutely fantastic. I know I'm just rattling off the team one by one, but every time I've watched them in Europe this year, they've been just solid. And I don't care if the rest of the Italian teams stunk, which they have. Every other team in Italy, except for maybe Fiorentina in the Conference League, has really just crapped the bed. Inter's proving to be an exception to that standard. They're good. I remember when they hosted Arsenal, Arsenal could not find a breakthrough. And at the time, that was a very strong team attacking-wise. This team is good. This team is well coached. They are built for Champions League ties. They can win over 180 minutes. They can suffocate you defensively. They can get the ball forward quickly. Guys crashing in. I'm all in on Inter Milan. This is a great team. They deserve all the respect in the world. They're good win. Good job, Inter Milan. You should be proud of yourselves. That's a rant I've had one or two times in this podcast. I just don't think Inter Milan are getting the respect they deserve. Lautaro Martinez doesn't get the respect he deserves. But no, I do think a big thing, and I kind of, when I went on that little mini rant right there, is the rest of Italy did absolutely atrocious in Europe. That was bad. I wonder what their coefficient is. They've got the third best coefficient. Miles below England and Spain, but yeah, no, they're actually at the end of this year will be higher than Spain over the last 5 years in Europe, but no, they're well above the likes of Germany, France, and Portugal. Well, Germany doesn't even have any teams left in Europe whatsoever. France has one, Portugal has none. So of the remaining 12 teams, 9 of them come from England and Spain and Italy. Germany's got one, Norway's got one, and Sweden's got one. So yeah, disappointing year for the Italians. But somehow, they're not really going to pay for it in the long run. They won't get the 5 Champions League ties like they did. But I guess if we want to talk about disappointment, look no further than Bayern Munich. I can't say I'm impressed with Bayern. I can't say I'm impressed with Vincent Kompany. It's probably like 6 or 7 episodes ago, I kind of said that I think they'd be best if they left him. They look indecisive in big games, and they've got enough talent and quality to win the Bundesliga this year. They don't need to worry about being perfect to win that league. Goddamn Bayer Leverkusen had to go undefeated last year over 34 games. And a million last-minute comebacks that shouldn't have been possible to defeat Bayern Munich. They did end up becoming third behind Stuttgart, but there's something just lacks in this team. Even clinically speaking, I always think a good metric of a team is how do you do with set pieces? Because a lot of set piece defending is discipline. Yes, you're going to give up the odd corner. The awkward ball is going to land the wrong way. But in both of the set piece goals that Bayern Munich gave up today, defending should have been better. Joshua Kimmich and then Kim Min-jae on the second one both did a really bad job. And also Joshua Kimmich, he pushed the ball boy today. I don't like that. It's a low move. I'm really not proud of some of the Germans. I'm of German descent. I pull for the German national team, and I think some of the behavior of the likes of Antonio Rudiger and Joshua Kimmich are not looking good for the German brand. I think they both acted. Rudiger was just throwing so many dirty fouls in that Arsenal Real Madrid game, and Kimmich was just. Yeah, you can't push the ball, boy. I get you're frustrated. I get he might have moved the ball or whatever. You can't push the ball, boy. It's low, honestly. It's kind of a scumbag move. I'm not afraid to say that. There's no fear on this podcast. But yeah, those are the four Champions League. So we're set up with Arsenal versus PSG, and this will be the week of I think the games will start on the 29th. And then the other game's going to be Inter Milan versus Barcelona. And I can't get over that disadvantage that Barcelona is going to be on having to play the Spanish Cup final against Real Madrid 4 days before their first leg against Inter Milan. I don't know who's home first. Arsenal's going to be home first against PSG, and then Barcelona's going to be home first against Inter Milan. And then whoever wins the Arsenal-PSG game will be the home team. So, I guess if PSG played Inter Milan, PSG gets to keep the blue jerseys, and Inter Milan would have to wear their away kits. I don't think Arsenal and Barcelona would clash too bad. And then I think Inter Milan would actually be kind of aesthetically pleasing to look at. The final's going to be on May 31st, so well over a month from now. And it's going to be in Munich at the Allianz Arena. So Bayern Munich didn't have the chance to play in front of their home crowd. And there was actually a Premier League game that happened during this. Newcastle United needed to make up their game they missed from when they played in the Carabao Cup final against Liverpool. And I'm going to go over this one pretty quickly because it was, out of the ordinary schedule. And this one was just kind of like a clinical ass whooping. I mean, final score, Newcastle 5, Crystal Palace 0. I mean, Newcastle didn't even have that many shots on target. They were just super, super efficient. Jacob Murphy opened the scoring in the 14th minute. Eze actually had a chance in the 36th minute with a penalty. He missed it. And then Newcastle kind of just put their boots on Crystal Palace's throat. Mark Gay gets an own goal for Crystal Palace in the 38th minute. Harvey Barnes scores 3 minutes into the first half extra time. Fabian Schär scores 8 minutes into the first half extra time. So it's 4-0 going in halftime. Game's over. And then Alex Isaac just made it a little more sweeter for Newcastle fans in the 58th minute as they went up 5-0. So then we went into the Premier League with every team on 33 games. This moved Newcastle up to 5th place, and Crystal Palace stayed in 12th, but they only made it harder for themselves to qualify for Europe. Going to have to rely on the Cup for that one. That's enough Premier League. We're going to get in the Premier League later. We're going to head back to Europe. We're going to do the Europa League, which is the second tier competition there in the quarterfinals as well. And there's some really, really, really exciting matchups. I mean, this was super, super exciting. One shock result. Well, no, one shock winner. Two just absolutely wild endings, and then two other games that weren't too bad. And we'll start from the top. We'll start with one of the more exciting ones. Lazio hosting Bodo Glimt. Now, to my more well-seasoned soccer fans, Bodo Glimt, you would know. They're out of Norway. They've been quite successful in Norway the last couple years and have played in Europe. But to the average fan, no, I don't think they really know much about Bodo Glimt. I mean, I really don't even know that much about Bodo Glimt. The best I can remember is I remember them beating Jose Mourinho's Roma. I don't know if it was group stage, the Europa League or Conference League or something, but I remember Bodo Glimt beat the daylights out of Jose Mourinho's Roma. And now, I mean, people obviously are going to know who Lazio is. Lazio is a big club. They're out of Rome. They're well known. But that first leg in Norway went to the favor of Bodo Glimt. They won 2-0. Shocked me. I remember that result. Couldn't believe it. So coming back, Lazio knew they were going to have to fight, and they did. I mean, they really kind of controlled the game, pressing and pushing, and then they got a goal with Castellanos in the 21st minute, and then it took till the 93rd minute. Tijani Noslin in the 93rd minute tied the game up from Lazio. So then we were going to extra time. Boulaye Dia scored for Lazio in the 99th minute. They went up 3-2 on aggregate. I thought that was it. And then the 109th minute, Andreas Helmerson tied it up for Bodo Glimt. Shockingly, did not see that coming. And then Helmerson got a red card right as extra time ended. The game went to penalties, and there was actually a lot of missed penalties. Bodo Glimt missed their first one. Lazio missed their second and third.
And then both teams missed their fifth, but Bodo Glimt was up 3-2. They won penalties 3-2. And in the most shocking result in Europe this week, Bodo Glimt, 3-3 on aggregate, win in penalties 3-2, has defeated Lazio out of Italy. Again, just another poor result for an Italian team. And I can't believe it. Bodo Glimt's got to be the best story out of Europe this year. I mean, obviously, anytime a team from Norway makes it this far into a competition, it's remarkable. I mean, a Norwegian team hasn't made it this far in any European competition since both Rosenborg made the quarterfinals of the Champions League and Brann made the Cup Winners' Cup quarterfinals in 1997. And for Bodo Glimt to be where they are now is incredible. It's the furthest any Norwegian team has made it into a European competition, so that's incredible. And it's not like their road to this spot has been easy. I mean, they beat Porto in the league phase. They beat Braga in the league phase. They played a respectable 3-2 against Manchester United. They beat Besiktas. They drew Nice. They defeated Twente out of the Netherlands. They defeated Olympiacos out of Greece. And now they did beat Lazio, a team from a top 5 soccer playing country. I mean, this is just an incredible run. I know it's going to be tough going up against Tottenham. The odds are definitely not going to be in their favor. But I just want to take this moment and enjoy it, get to know this team more, and just what a wonderful story in European soccer this year. I mean, it's got to be the best by far. Lazio on the flip side is going to be massively disappointed. I mean, this is an opportunity to get to a European semifinal. This is, I think, by all standards on paper and just in real life, an inferior opponent. But they didn't play like it. I mean, this team, this program, they won Norway last year. I know Norway runs different. Like they play in the summer. Norway doesn't play the same schedule as the rest of Europe. But I mean, they're going to be in the Champions League again next year. It's going to be a massive boost to both their and Norway's UEFA coefficient, so it'll make qualifying easier in the future. And yeah, no, they've got a tie set up with, they were going to play the winner of Eintracht Frankfurt versus Tottenham, and I was surprised by this one. I mean, coming into the matchup, it was 1-1. All square in London, and I thought Tottenham played better, or excuse me, I thought Frankfurt played better, and this game was just gonna kind of come down to not luck, but it was a flip of a coin. I think these two teams matched each other well throughout the 180 minutes, and in the 43rd minute, Dominic Solanke was able to finish a penalty, and then Tottenham really held strong in the second half. I mean, Frankfurt were pushing. I think. But, I mean, they also didn't have anything too crazy. Like, I mean, you know, they're fighting for a goal for a half, and they only got 5 shots on target in the entire game. So it's a good result for Tottenham, and I think Tottenham's going to be very happy because now Tottenham's going to move on to play Bodo Glimt. And, I mean, unless, you know, they do something, quote-unquote, Spursy, they should be all right and get on to a final. But, I mean, hey, Frankfurt was favored to win this game. I mean, they had the best odds. I think they had better odds than Tottenham, and they had better odds than it being a draw after 90 minutes. So, yeah, no, I mean, Tottenham did what they needed to do. They're going to keep their hunt for a European trophy going. I mean, they haven't won anything, I think, in like 40 years. They won the UEFA Cup in the 80s, and then I know they've got some Cup Winners' Cup success prior to that. But, yeah, no. I mean, it was a shame. Frankfurt looked really good early. Mario Götze went off hurt. So then I spent a bunch of time thinking to myself, what would I make of Tottenham's season if they were to win this trophy? Because I like their chances against Bodo Glimt, and then if you get to a cup final, anything can happen. I do think Tottenham definitely deserve to be in contention for teams likely to win the Europa League this year, but they're currently sitting 16th in the Premier League. So the question is, if they finish 16th in the Premier League and they win the Europa League, is this season a success? And I really thought about this one, and I think it is. And I know the poor league form is definitely something to look back on. 18 losses is insane. It'll probably end up being more than 19 by the end of the season. They somehow have a positive goal differential. But if they can win the Europa, that's a trophy. Trophies, you're always going to remember trophies. You know, in 10 years from now, how much are you going to really remember Tottenham finishing 16th in the Premier League? But if they win this Europa League, every single one of those fans are going to remember that forever. And it secures Champions League qualification. So, I mean, besides the Premier League winnings, which Premier League prize money is significant. Is there any difference between winning the Europa League, finishing 16th, than if Tottenham were to finish 5th? Yes, there's obviously differences, but the end result is the Champions League, and then you have the guarantee of the Champions League money the next year. Then you want to invest in the squad. I don't know if you should keep Ange. I think a lot of Tottenham's issues come from the board. But if they win this competition, I will say I think this is going to be a successful season for Tottenham. I know it's shocking to say. It's for a team that has more losses than wins and draws combined in the Premier League. But if you're not going to win it, the next best thing you can do is qualify for the Champions League and collect trophies. A Europa League trophy with the guarantee of playing Champions League next year is going to be a successful season for Tottenham, regardless of their league position. But yeah, disappointing result for Frankfurt on the other end. I mean, they won the competition 3 years ago. It's not a bad team. It's not a great team. And with their loss, there is actually no more German teams left in Europe. So that's it. There's none. Yeah, no, I mean they just couldn't get into a good flow of attacking. So they don't. I didn't think they deserved to win. I didn't walk away from that game being like, well, Tottenham eked out a win. Frankfurt deserved it. Like, no, I don't think that at all. I think Tottenham did deserve to go through, and that's gonna be a tough one for Frankfurt. So yeah, that sets up the matchup of Tottenham versus Bodo Glimt. I mean, I know I spoke on it a little bit a couple minutes ago, but it's that awkward. If I was a Tottenham fan, I would feel so like nervous, but only in regards of you're expected to win, but the fallout of if you lost would just be horrific. I mean, I know I personally don't try to base what other people are saying on social media on like how happy I am with my team, but the internet will explode if Tottenham lose the Europa League semifinals to Bodo Glimt. I don't think they will. I think they've got enough class. I think they're sitting a little healthier. Madison's playing decent. Vicario's healthy. You can bring Sonny in for those games. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, did Sonny play in these games? So he didn't. He's been dealing with a foot injury. I don't know you're definitely going to want him back if you're in a European semifinal. But we do have a bunch of other European games and some Premier League. I got to move on. We're 50 minutes into this podcast. Good lordy. Well, I guess I better do this shout now. I'm not going to do these at the end of the podcast anymore. But 50-minute mark, please remember to follow at Talk Soccer to Me on all social medias. It's the at Talk Soccer to Me podcast on Instagram, at Talk Soccer to Me. We post clips from the podcast on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Reels, TikToks. So, if you can't make a full episode, but you still want to see the bigger points hit, usually it's stuff talking about news or the bigger teams. So I just want to squeak that in there as we move on and talk about the other two Europa League semifinal ties. The first one is Athletic Bilbao hosting Rangers. Athletic Bilbao from the Basque region of Spain, famous for their only signing Basque players. They don't do transfers. They don't have a transfer policy. If you're not Basque, born in the area, or have family of that descent, you can't play there. And then Rangers, the famous Protestant club out of Glasgow, Scotland. We came in this game 0-0, tied up on aggregate. Rangers went down a man pretty early in the first leg, but they were resilient. They held on strong, and yeah, it finished 0-0. But Bilbao was going to do it at home, and they really controlled the game for the most part. I mean, Rangers played some stout defense, didn't let Bilbao get insane chances, but a penalty right in the injury time of halftime. Oyhan Sunset put it away for Athletic Bilbao, and then Nico Williams put the game to rest in the 80th minute. I mean, not really at any point did I feel as though Rangers was really threatening. I thought they looked better in the first leg when they had 10 men than they did this game. I mean, it was just all Bilbao. Bilbao are a fantastic team. I think they're a real threat to win it all. I mean, obviously the Williams brothers of Inaki Williams and Nico Williams they didn't even have to bring Inaki Williams off the bench, Guys like Unai Simon were on the bench too. Just a really well-rounded team. Guys, they play really well as a team. They're hard to beat. Really, really, really smart team. Bilbao has never won in Europe before, so they're gonna be pushing for their first Europa League trophy. I guess I didn't talk about who in the Champions League had won the trophy before, because that's kind of interesting. Because the Arsenal PSG tie, and the other team have won the Champions League before. Barcelona have won it as recently as 2014. Yeah, when the Messi, Suarez, Neymar, amazing team, the year they beat Juventus. And then, or was it 2015? Because Who won? Okay, I gotta do some. Chelsea won in 12. Bayern won in 13. Real Madrid. Okay, so sorry. Barcelona haven't won the Champions League since 2015, and then their opponents, Inter Milan, last won the Champions League in 2010. Team that did the treble with Jose Mourinho and Samuel Eto'o. So that's where that's at. Yeah, Tottenham last won the Europa League in the 80s. Bodo Glimt has never won it. And then we go into our last tie. One of the most insane games I have ever witnessed. A game that I thought was over. Manchester United versus Lyon. I was texting my Manchester United friends. Oh, it's over. Well, they played a pretty exciting first leg. We came into Manchester. We came into Old Trafford, the Theatre of Dreams. Even if I called it the Theatre of Nightmares earlier in the podcast. Tied up 2-2 on aggregate. And Manchester United came out strong. Manuel Ugarte opened the scoring in the 10th minute, and then Diego Dallo made it 2-0 on the night, 4-2 on aggregate in the 45th minute to send us to halftime. Man United firmly in control of the game. And then it all fell apart. For now. Not for now. It temporarily fell apart. Because we'll get into how this works out. So Lyon came out in the second half, and they didn't really I never was convinced of Lyon while watching this game. I mean, I got the bits and pieces. I was watching the fantastic Golasso show where they had clips from all 8 of the Thursday European games going at the same time. But then in the 70th minute, Lyon turned it around. Corentin Tolisso scored in the 71st minute, and then Nicolas Tagliafico, ex-Premier League guy, scored in the 77th minute. We were all tied up, headed to extra time. And, I mean, it just really felt like Man United blew it, and it got worse right before the halftime of extra time. Ryan Cherki made it 3-2 Lyon, and then Alex Lacazette, they came out of the second half of extra time strong. They earned a penalty. Lacazette puts it away in the 109th minute. Lyon are up 4-2 on the night, 6-4 on aggregate. I remember the announcers saying it was over. My Twitter said it was over. I texted my Manchester United friends saying it was over. I was wrong. We all were wrong. We all owe Manchester United an apology because Casemiro turned into prime Casemiro. He's not the player he was at Real Madrid. He's not. I think Real Madrid kind of got the best of Manchester United on that transfer, but he still showed that he is a world-class center midfielder when he needs to be, because he really took this game over. They earned a penalty in the 114th minute. Bruno Fernandes doesn't really miss penalties, so they're making it close. The youngster Kobe Mainoo, who scored many clutch goals in his short time at Manchester United, gets one back in the 120th minute. So I'm thinking okay, great, we've got penalties. And then Casemiro in the 121st minute sends a ball into the box, kind of floats for a while, and who's there at the back post but the big head of the Harry frickin' Maguire, one of my favorite players, one of the most resilient men in Manchester United history. In the 120th minute, tied up. He's played all 2 hours of this game, gets his head on it, gets past the goalkeeper. Final score, Manchester United 5, Lyon 4, 7-6 on aggregate. Manchester United move on to the Europa League semifinals, looking to win the trophy since they last won it in 2017, the team with Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. I mean, where do you find the words to talk about this game? I mean, where do you even begin to talk about that game? That was a wild ride. That was a roller coaster. You spent the first half thinking Manchester United is the better team. They're clearly going to go through. And then 10 minutes of just a lapse of concentration, and boom, Lyon are sending it to extra time. I don't know what's going on in the extra time. And then Lyon comes out better. And then you think Manchester United's dead. We all thought Manchester United were dead. And then they weren't. And that shows something. That shows that despite how bad the season's going, despite how bad they'll get criticized in the press, even if they lose, Manchester United, deep down at their core, these guys are still willing to fight. These guys show passion. They showed fight tonight. It was incredible. I know things aren't going great for them in the league. I know Ruben Amorim's having a rough go at it, and at different times this Manchester United team looks broken. But tonight, they showed something that fans will always appreciate, and that's fight, and that's heart. And those are just intangibles that you can't coach, you can't teach. This has got to come from the players. It's got to come from an appreciation of the fans, an appreciation of the club, appreciation of Old Trafford and everything that it represents. And I know it's at a Europa League level. And I don't know if Manchester United is going to get back to that Champions League level where they would do something like that anytime soon. But that doesn't matter. I mean, the best clip was the little kid who was crying and then he was happy. And that was every Manchester United fan. I mean, it was one of the best Europa, not even Europa, one of the best European comebacks I've ever seen. I mean, you've been down 2 goals with 11 minutes left in extra time when your players are exhausted. Like, yeah, you can make 5 subs now compared to years prior. But it was incredible. It was a fantastic result. Manchester United showed something. They're going to have a tough go at it against Bilbao, but there is a path to the Champions League for Manchester United this year. They want to take it. They might take it. They've got a really good chance. Bilbao in the semifinal, winner of Tottenham, Bodo Glimt in the final. I really think they could do it. I mean, I think there's 3 teams in this competition could do it, but Manchester United definitely deserve the shout. As long as Onana can not make too many mistakes, I think this team could do it. So that wraps up the Europa League. I'm going to roll through this Conference League, the third tier of Europe, pretty quick. Fiorentina was playing NK Kelje out of Slovenia. Personally, a team I've never heard of before. It was close in Slovenia. Finished 2-1 Fiorentina. Game finished 2-2. Fiorentina went up, and then actually Kelje tied it up on aggregate, but a Moise Kean goal in the 67th minute advanced them to the semifinals. In the next tie, Real Betis, Spanish squad, had to go to Jagiellonia Białystok out of Poland. Betis won 2-0 at home. They came back in the second leg in Poland, went up, made it 3-0. Eventually, Białystok got a goal in the 81st minute, but it finished 3-1 on aggregate. Real Betis advanced. Chelsea was coming in off of their 3-0 victory against Legia Warsaw, also of Poland, but it was kind of a poor result for them. I mean, Chelsea gave up a penalty in the 10th minute. Cucurella did get one in the 33rd minute, but then Warsaw scored again in the 53rd minute. And yeah, it finished 4-2 on aggregate to Chelsea, but it was kind of surprising. And then the fourth matchup not in the only European quarterfinal that did not involve a team from a top 5 league. Rapid Vienna played Djurgården out of Sweden. The game was It came into this game with a Rapid Vienna 1-0 victory in Sweden. So this game was in Austria. And yeah, I mean, it was tough for Vienna. They got an early red card in the 7th minute, and then Djurgården piled on 2 goals. Vienna did get one though, sent it to extra time. 2 goals for Djurgården in the 93rd and 105th minute, and then a red card for Rapid Vienna in the 110th sealed it. So the Europa Conference League semi-finals look like Real Betis hosting Fiorentina. Betis will be home first, and then the second leg in Italy, and then Djurgården out of Sweden will be hosting Chelsea. Chelsea were supposed to host the first leg, but because of a scheduling conflict of Tottenham, because 2 teams can't be playing in Europe on the same night in the same city, it was rescheduled. Or no, sorry, it wasn't rescheduled. The ties were flipped. Chelsea will be hosting the second leg. So yeah, that leaves us with Europe. That's everything. And I got one more, not rant. This is like the opposite of rant. This is an appreciation. I'm so glad away goals are out of European soccer. I mean, I was gonna make this like a clip, like try to make a TikTok or an Instagram reel out of this, and I don't have anything. I don't think I'm gonna try to do that. I'm just gonna speak from my heart. Back in the day, if 2 teams were tied after 180 minutes of a European tie, whoever had more goals away from home would advance, which means the Manchester United game would have went the same way it did. The Aston Villa PSG game would have went the same way it did. All these ties, Lazio, Bodo Glimt, it was so awful how much the away goal used to matter. And I was looking at this and I realized Lyon did score 4 at Manchester United. And back in the day that used to mean more. And I'm so glad it's gone. It was the stupidest rule. It was from an outdated age of European soccer, and I'm just really glad I can get this one off my chest and say I'm so glad away goals are gone. I don't want them. I hated them. They were stupid. And that's it. That's all I got.